Happy Monday, degenerates, and welcome back to the Die Hard MMA podcast. We're back, and it's fight week. We're UFC Paris. We're coming off a break. I'm very pleased to inform you all that we do not have a dumpster to dive into this week. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm your neighborhood degenerate, right? I am the king of the dumpster diving when it comes to MMA. So I am more than happy to grease myself up, go get an extra tetanus shot, and then fish around for those on those dumpster dive type of cards. But this week, Paris is actually looking pretty good. I can't even complain about this card. Last time out, UFC Noche, big deal, Sphere, 20 blown, look sexy, whatever you want to do, but it's a 10-fight card. I'm like, I need something to sink my teeth into. 10 fights barely gets out of bed in the morning, right? Like, I need something to dig into, really look for those good, juicy pieces that the bookies might have overlooked, and that ain't happening when there's 10 people on a fight card. This week, they fixed the problem. This week, we got plenty of action to look for. I am pumped up to break this card down for you guys, and anytime coming back off a break week, it just feels not quite Christmas. Like, we're not quite there yet, right? Like, that's the night before like a massive pay-per-view like UFC 300 or something like that. So not, maybe it's like the week before your Thanksgiving break. You're going to go eat some good food. You get an extra couple of days off school or work. Like, you're excited about it still, but it's not quite Christmas. So, I can't go that far. I hope you all are whooping ass. I hope you all survived the break week, got some good stuff done, maybe. College football, it wasn't nice to me, but I'm hoping it did well, at least for you. I do have to shout out the chat. As always, thank you guys for being here and for supporting the show and listening to me, jargon on about all this MMA and watch me degenerate out over here. But first and foremost, my man Joe Free, first comment in the chat says, Clint, how you doing, my friend? All I can say is, the bantamweight division. That's what's up. First comment in the chat today, and my man Joe Free could not be more right. We are not rocking the baby blues because that was technically last week. We're a week removed, but I am rocking the money chain. Merab Dvalishvili, your new bantamweight champion of the world. And I told you, I am the king of the bantamweight division. I have called every single curveball that has come in that weight class, and y'all made fun of me. Y'all made fun of me for when I put out my bantamweight rankings, and I said, you guys just don't understand. I tried my best to warn you, and you guys thought that you'd take a victory lap on me, but I'm going to revisit that list. Not yet. I'm going to revisit that list very, very soon here. And we're going to see how it shapes up, because those numbers are getting pretty close to being real accurate right about now. I am your bantamweight king, baby, and we're going to ride off into the sunset. The last piece of the puzzle, the only thing on planet Earth that I need right now, is for the UFC brass to pressure Merab into defending his title at Christmas. Oumar has already come out and said that he doesn't want to wait until 2025 to fight. We know Oumar is guaranteed the next title shot. Merab is a tough-nosed little son of a bitch who will do whatever it takes. He's willing to say yes to the UFC. If they turn him around quick for me, I've got Oumar to be champion at the end of 2024 at 8-1. We moved the market. We made them take that shit down. I've got it in pocket. And then I loaded up on Oumar to be champion at the end of 2025. If he can snatch that belt before the end of the year, I'll be feeling good. It's okay if he doesn't, because we're just going to run it back. We're going to run it back. He's going to take it at that first opportunity, and there's not a damn thing anybody can do about it. You guys don't believe? You better jump on the cousin Oumar train sooner than later, because it's about to be gone. All right, everybody, that's enough victory lapping though, right? Like we got a show to do. We got stuff to talk about. I got Grateful Dude, The It Factor MMA, Aaron in the chat. We've got Kakarot Lock Day MMA. We've got Joshua Frick Dixon Cider. How is everybody doing? Oh, my guy Dream in the house. We got Jesse, Ian Campbell. Let's freaking go, ladies and gentlemen. It's Die Hard time, baby. This is the home of fight. You're watching on the home of bets, and it is a special, special night of fights because our boy right here from Home of Fight is headlining the card. And because of that, I had to pull a couple strings. I had to call in the big guns. I had to make sure we had a guest that was worthy of such an occasion. So I'm joined by none other than the man himself, Matty Betts, to talk about these fights. My guy, Matty, how you doing?
Yo, how we doing, bro? I got the Bills game on right now, so I need this first touchdown score, and we're in the red zone.
Oh, shit, already. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, I am in danger, I will tell you, because I in my Dynasty League, I'm up about 35 points right now. I'm playing ETN and Chase tonight. Doesn't feel good.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I'm in trouble.
You might be all right. You might be all right. We'll see.
Fingers crossed, man. What do you? So wait. Before we get the MMA started, though, what you got going cooking here on the Bills game?
I have some crazy long shots, as expected. I have Curtis Samuel first touchdown here. It's 25-1, and then I have 2 touchdowns for him at 90-1, and then I have what else I got in the game? I got Josh Allen. I laddered all of his rushing yards up, so we'll see if that hits. I need the right game script for that, though.
Sure. No, they got to take an early lead and stuff some jag drives for that. Man. Oh, I like it. I love it. So as you guys may or may not know, Maddie's the one who roped me in here and got me riding with Home of Fight. And I got to tell you guys, there's never been a more perfect fit. I'm your friendly neighborhood degenerate when it comes to MMA. Did you just hear what this man is betting on tonight? So I am at home, man. These are my people. So Maddie, thank you so much for joining me tonight. We've got a lot of MMA to get through. So we probably should get this thing started because there's a bunch of fights to talk about.
A lot. It's good after I went to Noche, and man, it was a short night. It's like what 10 fights.
No kidding. I kind of left a little blue balled feeling after that because it was like, damn, man, I wish we had just like 2 more. You know what I mean? Like, give me a little bit more action and all.
Especially with how the night ended on the last 2. I mean, I know you were happy on the Miranda money line, but just being at that card, that Zellhuber Esteban fight was unbelievable, and then everything after that was just downhill, as far as excitement and pace. But that fight was unbelievable in person, bro. Just best round I've ever seen in MMA.
I am sad I was on the wrong side of the split decision there on that one, but dude, you can't take anything away from that fight. That was such a good fight. Well, sure. I think we're going to kick the night off with a banger here, though, man. Bojan Joki takes on Chris Duncan in our first fight of the night here. And, man, I've been a little hot and cold on Chris Duncan, right? He's 11-2, 31 years old. He's training at ATT. And he's had his 2-fight win streak snapped by Torres, who we just saw get nuked by my guy Bahamondes at the Sphere very, very recently here. Chris Duncan is one of these guys that when he got to the UFC Off Contender Series, I immediately went, I'm fading this guy. I'm betting against this guy. Like the way his Contender Series fight went, where it was life and death. He took massive shots. I don't like the durability. I don't like the gas tank. I'm like, oh, we're gonna do well playing against this guy. And then he kind of made me eat my words his first couple fights. It looks like he's at the right place. He's getting some good training. The cardio looks like it's in better shape. So I kind of came around a little bit on him, and then all the issues I saw came to bear there in that Torres fight. He gets nuked, and now he's kind of hitting the reset button. And it feels like the UFC is hoping to cash in on that here a little bit because Oki, 9-1, he's fresh off of Dana White's Contender Series himself. He got a short notice fight against Timothy Kwamba in his last one, and that one was a little interesting because it felt like he beat Timmy pillar to post, and somehow it went to a split decision. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but it felt like, you get these guys that just destroy people, and they have 4 minutes lifetime of fight time in the cage after 8 fights because they're just running through people. I almost feel like Oki took the safe path there. Almost feels like he got that that 15 minutes, making sure he can go a full UFC fight, that kind of thing against a guy he didn't feel threatened by. And I kind of think that's what's happening here in that last fight. He's got a really nice jab. He's heavy on his feet. I like the way he kind of dips and rolls and hooks to the body. And I really like the way Oki strikes. He's got some heat in his hands. He's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here in this spot. And I do feel like this is going to be a fight where at some point Oki's just going to tag Duncan, and Duncan's going to go into that fight or flight mode. And then someone's going down. You know what I mean? So I feel like the line is a little pricey. Maybe it's a little too much to ask for here, but I gotta pick Oki, man. I can't make the argument for Duncan. What about you? What do you see in this fight, and who do you like?
Yeah. So I was actually talking with Moicano on this fight. He's trained. We talked about Chris Duncan a little bit on the podcast. He said he's a very tough guy. You know, things we already know about him, right? But he said he's also very hard to submit on the ground, right? I think Chris Duncan's really improved a lot, but I think this is kind of like a buy low spot on Oki because people are like, you know, not impressed by his last performance. And if you go back and look at some of the tape on him, like he can put guys away. And Chris Duncan, even going back to that Contender Series fight against Slavaclaus, like he walks into like a 2 or 3 piece. Like he can get tagged a lot on the feet. He's taking some damage. I'm Oki all day here in this spot. I want to see what the inside the distance number is here. But I think he could even win a decision on the scorecards. What's his money line up to?
About -205 at this point.
Yeah. No, it does feel a little expensive just based off of like Chris Duncan is a dog, but I just think Oki's the better overall fighter here, and I think that he can, just outstrike him on the feet, maybe get a finish. Maybe like a round 2 finish, round 2 KO here. So I'm gonna trust that he gets it done. But I like this fight to open up the night. It's a good matchup.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun one to get us started, and like I mentioned, should absolutely be a violent one to get us started. So I'm very much looking forward to this one, man. Unfortunately, for those of us sweating the degenerate action here, James Cook first touchdown is the one who went ahead and ran.
I was trying not to react while I just saw it happen.
Oh, bro. You know what?
James Cook, the worst part is Josh Allen just got me 8 yards on the ground, which is good because I have his ladder. But I have over 12.5 as his longest rush. And I thought that was like 13 yards, but it was only 8. It wasn't even
brutal,
close.
Dude. And you know what, man? I can't with the Bills. I just can't, because every time I'm like, you know what? This is probably the game where Allen scores, Cook goes in. And it's like the reverse, that I'm like, if I think it's an Allen game, it's a Cook game. If I think it's a Cook game, it's an Allen game. So I'm just like, I'm just not betting the Bills. Can't do it.
Yep.
All right, guys. Next fight up, we've got Nora Cornol. She's taking on Jacqueline Cavalcanti, and you should all be very, very familiar with Jacqueline Cavalcanti in this fight here. And again, I did this last time. I keep flip-flopping the way I say her damn name. I gotta pick one and stick to it. But Jacqueline was our anchor, Maddie, in her last fight. We parlayed everything on the board to her. And I don't know what those 3 blind mice they call judges were thinking. They somehow managed to argue a split decision for Nunes. I was terrified when that fight went to a split decision. The amount of money I could have lost if one more judge had just looked the wrong way. I was in serious trouble. But now I'm looking at that fight, and I went back and I rewatched it leading up to this one, and I think she could be in trouble here. So as expected, Cavalcanti is the favorite in this spot, -205. Nora Cornol is a +170 underdog. I've talked a little bit of garbage about Nora Cornol, man. I thought she was being brought in to lose. You know, she is the home fighter here. She's from France. They brought her in for her UFC debut, and it looked like just a greasy spot where she should not belong in the UFC. But she pulls off a win. Everything about her looks like it's bad. Looks like she's got bad cardio, bad technique, and then she just finds a way to win. I've discovered what I think she is. Nora Cornol is female Dricus Duplessis, okay? Until anyone tells me otherwise, she's a female Dricus. She's got big power, she's got sketchy-ass cardio, but she finds ways to win, and now she's 2-0 in the UFC. Her second fight is a TKO victory, and she was losing right up until the point that she turned the tables, man. She's on her back, her mouth is hanging open, she looks like she's gassed, she's whiffing with these big power shots. And then knee to the gut, boom, falls over. That's it. See you later. That's the end of the night.
Yeah.
Watching back that fight with Jacqueline, she was eating some big shots from Nunes, man. She was in control the entire fight, but there were several moments where I held my breath because that big overhand from Nunes, you know, her whole Armathy game plan where overhand left, that's all she's got to work with. But Jacqueline had, like, you look at her forehead and it's like all lumped up. She's got like swelling going on up there. She was getting caught. I don't know that she's going to get the respect from someone like Nora Cornell. I don't know that she's going to have the power to back someone like Nora off. And then when Nora lands, I don't think Cavalcante's going to react very well to that. I'm very tempted in just like flipping on my girl and being like, thank you for the money last time out, but now I have to bet against you. I think we have a very live dog here in Nora Cornell, again on home soil for the UFC, riding a 2-fight win streak. Short notice turnaround for Jacqueline might not be the best idea here, man. What do you make of this fight? Because I'm thinking it's dog or pass. I might pull the trigger.
I want to take a dog shot too. The only thing that concerns me is, like, I get everything you're saying. Like, Nora's gonna walk forward, but it just feels like Cavalcante is just so good at fighting off her back foot. And like this fight could look a lot like her last fight, but I think Nora's just more dangerous. She's bigger, like, you know. But I think that Cavalcante just can fight off her back foot and maybe win a decision. But Nora gets chicks out of there, bro. You gotta love a women's MMA fighter that has what, 75% KO rate or whatever it is. I mean, it's just super impressive. I think the UFC wants her to come in and win this. Like, this is a chick that the UFC wants to do well. You want women's MMA fighters that can put fighters away, and she is gonna march forward. I just have concerns that she's just gonna get outpointed. You know, she's just not able to do enough. But I think that you could be right. Like, I think that this almost could be a fight that she just lands the more damage in shots, even if she gets outstruck. She can just land the more damage in shots. And you know, in the last fight with Josiane, like, that fight was, a lot of people thought it was close. You know, I know it was a split decision, but it was just a mixture of feelings from everyone. Some people were like, oh, it was 3-0, and then other people were like, it was a split decision. So I think that Nora can kind of have a similar game plan, just walk forward, land big shots, and it's just going to be such a tough fight to predict. But I don't hate you for a dog or pass shot here for sure.
Okay, glad you're kind of seeing that way with me here. And our guy in the chat, Lucky Day MMA, very astutely pointing out that this is actually a rematch here, Maddie.
Yeah,
Nora
that's a great point. I was trying to get footage on that fight. Have you watched it?
I couldn't find it.
I could not find UFC Fight Pass, YouTube. I tried to find it everywhere. I think it was, how many years ago was that? I want to say like 4 years ago.
Yeah, 2021. So 3 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the thing, dude. We've seen what Jacqueline is capable of. We know she's got great footwork. We know she's got great defense. That was Nora's first fight. Like, she had never dealt with anybody or anything, and she's taken on this chick who can dance around the cage, who she can't find in there. And she's kind of a heavy on the feet, plotting, come forward and, you know, try to hurt you type of fighter. That's a tough ask for your first fight. And since then, she's done nothing but win. So we're 3 years removed at this point, and I'm not seeing the evolution that I wanted to see or that I thought I would see from Cavalcante. And this is coming from a guy that cashed in big on her last time. So running it back on home soil, it seems like a spot where maybe Nora can get a little bit of revenge here on this one today, man.
The most interesting thing about Nora is, since that fight, every win has been a finish except the Jocelyn Edwards fight, who just doesn't get finished.
Yeah.
You know, she's been finished once and it was a sub in her entire career. 19 fights, she got finished once. You know, so like Nora she is putting everyone away. You know, so it's interesting. I wouldn't even take the money line shot. I would just take the inside the distance shot. Hope, you know, assuming it's a pretty solid number. What's the money line right now? Like 175?
Plus 170 for Nora. Yeah. So, and we don't have any props out, unfortunately, at this point yet for like an inside the distance or anything. Let me pull up Bet Online and see if they've got.
If you can get like over 3-1 on that, I don't see why you wouldn't take a shot there on that.
Yeah, let's see here. Oh, they might. Nope. Okay, it's not loading anything for me. Unfortunately, they don't have props up yet for us to take a look at. So, yeah, man, we'll spy that a little bit later in the week. But I do think a finish is very, very live here for Nora, frankly. We'll see what happens. My guy Dix Insider in the chat says ends in split. That's the call. So I don't hate it, man. We're going to get a footwork and skill versus power and pressure type of fight, especially in women's MMA. If it ends up being a little like on the low volume side, that's definitely something that could easily end up being a split decision one way or the other. So I feel you there. Absolutely hear that. I think that could be a pretty decent look here on this one. All right, guys. Next up, we have got Daniel Barez, and he's taking on Victor Altamirano. You know, first thought when I saw this fight matched up, Maddie, is not how this fight plays out. It's not how this fight goes. I just felt bad for Victor Altamirano. Last card out was UFC Noche, and our guy didn't get an invite to the barbecue. Like, that's the Mexican fighters are like Spanish fighters. The people they were trying to highlight went like 2-7 on the night, and Victor did not get an invite from the UFC to that fight card. I feel bad for my boy. He's a death by 1,000 cuts type of fighter, man. Endless gas tank, just always moving. Got good, decent wrestling on him. Level changes very well, never stops moving, death by 1,000 cuts. That's what Victor Altamirano is. And he's taking on Daniel Barez. Daniel Barez is a guy that I kind of forgot a little bit about. He comes off of Dana White's Contender Series, believe it or not. He's one of these guys that came off of a loss, went back out on the regional scene, strung together 4 big finishes in a row, and then they gave him another crack at the UFC. He immediately gets handled. They put him in there against João Filo, and that fight did not last very long. And I say he got handled, but that's not exactly fair. If you go back and watch that fight, boy, he's got Filo running for his life. He hits Filo hard, drops him a couple times. He's walking him down. He's cutting the cage off. He's getting in his face. And then he just got dogged. Like, it's one of those fights where you find out real quick who wants it, because when the going got tough, João Filo covered up his ribs that were hurting him, bit down on the mouthpiece and said, okay, boy, let's go. And he came out on top with a submission victory after hurting the guy that had just put him in danger. This kid doesn't got it as far as I'm concerned, Maddie. He's a bully. He's a good hammer and a bad nail. And if he can hit you hard enough that you'll go away, he will look like $1,000,000. But I don't think he's built for war. You see all these wins that he's got, and it's round one. You know, Carlos Hernandez, who he lost to on Dana White's Contender Series, is very similar, stylistically speaking, I feel like, to a Victor Altamirano, as far as not a big hitter, got some wrestling chops, but he's mostly a cardio play. I kind of like Victor Altamirano in this spot because I think that Barez is very, very highly contingent on finishing. And the only loss that Altamirano has is a submission loss. He's never been knocked out. Yeah. So he's kind of a decision machine guy. Looks like he's got a good solid chin on him. And the cardio is really kind of the biggest thing here. I think he'll be able to outlast Barez when this turns into a bit of a dogfight. What do you see on this fight, man? What do you like?
Yeah, so just going off what you said, the under 2.5 is like plus 240.
Ooh.
You know, so like it almost feels like an Altamirano decision, you know, and that's a good comment in the chat from Dixon. You know, Altamirano could Tim Elliott him for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it seems intriguing to play a dog shot here. You know, like 13 of his 16 wins are by finish. He puts people away, but like,
is he putting Altamirano away?
Right. And then it's just like pick 'em fight right now, I think, isn't it?
Victor is a -125 favorite. Daniel Barez is plus 105 at this point. And I would be looking degenerate here, man. I'd be taking a look once these props drop at like the round 2, round 3 sub props for Victor Altamirano, because he's not really known as a finisher, but he's actually a pretty damn good grappler. I think some people might be sleeping a little bit on that. So if the number's right, that might be worth a look.
Yeah. The only thing with Altamirano that just concerns me is I just feel like his UFC wins just aren't UFC fighters. They're just low-level guys like Lacerda and Salvador. So that part concerns me.
There's a reason he wasn't invited to the barbecue.
Exactly. Like, you nailed that part. Yeah. I could see a decision win for him. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be a boring decision. But maybe he gets a late submission and you get paid big.
Yeah, man, we'll see. This is one of those coins that I feel like I just don't need to flip. You might get a really inviting live bet spot, though, because Barez will come out hard. He will win that first round. And then if you start to see him take a couple deep breaths or take a step backwards, that's the moment to jump in on Victor Altamirano.
I like it.
I think that's the plan, man. Maybe take a live shot at it. All right, guys. First and foremost, thank you very much for being here. This is the home of fight, and we are breaking down UFC Paris. There's already 300 of you live here hanging out for the show. We appreciate you. I'm joined by my guy, Matty Betts, here with Home of Fight. Make sure you smash that like button for us. Do me a favor and share the show out. We've got not one, but 2 NFL games going on right now, which is not normally the competition that we're dealing with. So if you guys could share the show out, we'd appreciate it today most, and more so than normal, even, because we're fighting an uphill battle here on this one. Next fight we want to talk to you about is Ailín Perez, and she is taking on Darya Zheleznyakova, something along those lines. I think I'm close. Man, my moment is here, Maddie. I've been waiting so long for this exact spot.
You're on a dog shot here, aren't you?
Oh, you best believe it, Maddie. Ailín Perez. Look, and now everybody, I want you to take 2 seconds. Look me in the eyes. Look at me right here, right here. Ailín Perez is not good. Okay, she is not a good fighter. There, I said it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to be nice about it. Ailín Perez is a subpar MMA fighter. She's got a 10-2 record. She's 29 years old. She is an OnlyFans model. Her whole reason for being in the UFC is to advertise for her shaking her ass and twerking so that you can pay her $15 a month to see it. This girl is not serious about fighting. And on top of that, Maddie, she doesn't know how to strike. And I mean in every aspect of the word, okay? You go back and she violated poor Jocelyn Edwards. Violated. She doesn't know how to strike, so she humped this girl to death. She got on top of her and to roll the tape. Like, I need a video editor right now because someone needs to roll that footage for me. She gets on top of her, and you're thinking, okay, here we go. Ground and pound. Elbows. Big punches. And she starts doing... Like, she doesn't know how to strike from top position. She's literally bouncing on this girl. Like, there's no damage being done. She gasses out. She exhausts herself looking for these takedowns. And let me tell you the people she's fought in the UFC. Ashley Evans Smith, who retired immediately after. Lucy Pudilova, who's been in the UFC twice, has since been cut. And Jocelyn Edwards, whose entire career is simply lack of physicality. She's 3-3 in her last 6. She won 2 fights via split, both of which, mind you, were robberies. Jocelyn Edwards is not a good fighter. She has yet to win anything of substance, and she's near death in the 3rd round of every single one of those fights, Maddie. She's hanging on for dear life at the end of these fights because she has no lunch pail. She has no cardio. She is a quitter. I will take it all the way back to the regionals. You go back to when she fought. I want to say it was Tamaris Vidal. Vidal's the one that took like the DQ in the end of the 3rd round. Like, some of the laziest strikes I've ever seen, and she's like sobbing and crying because she thinks she's got this big TKO victory. She elbowed the shit out of this girl in the back of the head and gave her an opportunity to quit and take the win, but she's like sobbing that she got a finish. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen on both sides of that fight. At the end of the day, I've been trying to fade Ailín Perez, and my moment has come. She called out Holly Holm. Maddie, I drooled. I was like, oh God, please book Holly Holm versus Ailín Perez. I will not tell my wife, and I will mortgage the house and put every penny I own on Holly Holm because
didn't she call out, was it Holly Holm?
It was Holm and somebody else. She went like 2 or 3 in a row where she was
Harrison,
like, I want
right?
Kayla Harrison. She went Kayla Harrison, didn't get it. She went Holly Holm, didn't get it. And there's a reason, Maddie, there's a reason. The UFC went, hey, you and Kayla? No. You and Holly? No. Like, you know what we will do though? We'll fly you out to Paris and let you get your ass whooped by the Iron Lady Zheleznyakova. This girl is 9-1. She's 28 years old. She's got 5 wins by KO. She is mean, man. She is nasty. And when she made her UFC debut, she came in against Montserrat Rendon. And I've been well on record. I don't know if you guys heard that, but we got some dog barking in the background. Montserrat Rendon is not a very good fighter. So don't get me wrong. I'm not like pumping her up here with the win over Montserrat Rendon. But the one thing that Montserrat Rendon has and does is she is extremely physical. She is very physical. She's big, she's strong, and she knows how to wrestle, and she takes people down. This girl got taken down 3 times by Montserrat Rendon. Every single time, she showed me exactly what I need to see. She showed an urgency to get to the cage, an urgency to get back up to her feet. She stood up the right way. She worked her way back up, and then she defended the next takedown and started doing damage. That's going to chew apart Ailín Perez because she'll get a takedown. Hell, she'll get 2. And then what? She's on the feet with 0 answer for this girl's striking. She won't be able to get in and close the distance here because you've got Zheleznyakova, who's going to have a 4-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage. So as she comes in, she's going to be taking damage. And then when she starts to get tired and she can't quite get those takedowns in round 2 and round 3, she's going to start eating knees, Maddie. This girl's getting finished. It's going to be a round 3 TKO for Zheleznyakova. I've got a 2-unit play plus 220 on the money line for Zheleznyakova. I could not feel better about it. It's one of those ones where it's not a value play. People tell me to quit chasing dogs and just pick the winners. Bitch, I am. I'm picking the winner of this fight right now, okay? Zheleznyakova is going to knock this girl out, and I'm going to get a round 3 price tag on it. It's going to be juicy. And that is your Link Memorial Dog of the Week, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not sure what happened to my graphic here, unfortunately. It seems like we might have lost my link graphic here, so I'll need to re-add that at a different time. But that's it. That's the Link Memorial Dog of the Week for this week. Zheleznyakova plus 220, and we're going to hit that round 3 sprinkle as soon as I get a number.
I'll root for you, bro, but I'm on the other side on this one. I think Perez is just gonna suffocate her. But again, if maybe she does that for a couple rounds, maybe she's up 2-0, and then maybe she fades a little bit, and maybe she gets caught in round 3. So you could be onto something there. But I mean, Perez is relentless. I know you didn't like the win against Jocelyn Edwards, but I thought it was a good win. I know there's a lot of controversy and all the antics and the headbutt and all this stuff, but I thought it was a good win overall. And I like her ambition of who she's calling out. I know you said she's trying to get eyeballs to her OnlyFans. Well, guess what? If she wins me money, I'm going on record right now. I will purchase an OnlyFans subscription from her. But
I buy T-shirts when my fighters win. Maddie will buy the OnlyFans.
She's got to bring me home on a winning bet, though.
That's fair.
It's got to be substantial enough, too.
I believe in paying it back to the fighters that do well by you, Maddie. I fully support purchasing the OnlyFans if you cash a ticket with it.
Fun story. I had a fighter. I won't mention his name. I had a fighter I won a big bet on probably been 8 or 9 months ago now. And he DM'd me and said, "Good win. Here's my Cash App." And I sent him a Cash App. It wasn't a ton of money, but I just wanted to take care of him. But it was I
love it.
The fighters on like 12 and 12s,
Sure.
They're big wins for gamblers. You got to take care of them if they ask. So you just
I
send them the money.
I love it. Dude, and that's been my policy. I need to add Merab to the list, by the way. Maddie, anytime I make a max bet.
It was not Moicano or RoboCop. It was no one in South Florida. You would never guess it right now. It's like I just said, he's on like a 12 and 12. It's clearly not Moicano or RoboCop.
It's somebody young.
It's not GM3 either or Paul Craig. These are all guys that are not on 12 and 12s. You guys are guessing people that have established, contracts.
You got to go lower. Go lower on the bar.
Yeah. Not Andre Muniz either, no.
But that's my thing, man. Is I'm buying T-shirts at this point. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, like you won me a big bet. I'm gonna rock your T-shirt. That's what I'll do. I got Anthony Smith hanging up in there. I got to get Merab's T-shirt now that we cashed in on that one. If it's like an anchor, a max bet, a 5-unit, something like that, I'm supporting the fighter, paying it back by buying a T-shirt. Real quick, our favorite hater in the chat, Haunter, says, if you guys fade Clint's dog pick every week this year, you're up 20 units. And that's the best part about all this, Haunter. I have the numbers, my friend. So currently speaking, the Link Memorial Dog of the Week, since we incepted this bad boy at the beginning of the year, is 12 and 19. We are minus 2.43 units on the Link Memorial Dog of the Week. Minus 2.43. So if we can hit this one on Zheleznya, we will be this close to being even on the year, and then I got a shot at being profitable for my boy at the end of the year. So no, you are not up 20 units. In fact, if you're laying that kind of chalk, I'd be curious to see what that number looks like on the other side, Maddie, because when those minus 400 favorite shit the bed, that puts you back a little bit. So I'm not sure you're even profitable fading the Link Memorial Dog of the Week.
You'd be down unless it's bet openly. You'd be down money.
Exactly. You'd be down bad when one or two of those big favorites go ahead and lose. All right, guys, we have a little dissension for the night, and that's always fun. Being on the opposite side here, you get both angles. Let's see what happens on this next one here. We got Taylor Lapilus and Vince Morales. Maddie, I am such a fan of Vince Morales. I am so happy for Vince Morales. I loved this guy in the UFC. I was thinking we were going to make some money. We were going to cash tickets on him because he's just relentless. He's got heart all about him. But they put him through a murderer's row, okay?
Yeah.
Miles Johns, Jonathan Martinez, Chris Gutierrez, Benito Lopez, Song Yadong. Like, those are his losses in the UFC, and then they cut the guy. Not shockingly, after he gets cut, he goes out and he whoops ass on the regional scene. He goes out there and gets the damn thing done. And in his most recent fight, he submitted Hunter Adger, who's another former UFC fighter, with a Peruvian necktie, which, man, that's style points, right? Like, it's like, go get this win. And he's like, no, I'm going to finish him. And not only am I going to finish him, I'm going to make him look silly doing it. Like, you hit Peruvian neckties against white belts who haven't even signed up for a monthly subscription in the gym yet. You do not hit those at high level mixed martial arts. He's showing levels against these guys, and he's fought his way back to the UFC. I could not be happier for him. He's a wrestle boxer with solid cracking power, and you can see he's worked really hard on his grappling game, obviously, in his time off. So we gotta expect that he's a submission threat at this point as well. But Taylor Lapilus, they're putting him right back on that big FU train. First fight back in the UFC, man. Taylor Lapilus is not an easy fight. 20-4. This dude is strong, like, physically speaking. He can be a little boring to watch because he's kind of a decisionator, point striking fighter, but he's very effective, very defensively sound, strong wrestling, strong counter grappling. The win over Cody Stamann just speaks volumes as to what kind of level this guy is at. So as much as I love my guy Vince Morales, I can't jump in 2 feet first and be like, oh, this is it. He's going to win this one, you know, coming in, stepping in first thing and getting a big show. This is going to be a hard fought battle. It's a tall order. I've marked Taylor Lapilus as a guy that I want my money on just in general moving forward. Lapilus is a minus 350 favorite right now. Vince Morales is a plus 280 underdog. And I think the move is Lapilus by decision. I don't think either of these guys are going to finish the other. I'm going to root my ass off for Vince Morales. I want him to get this win, but I don't think he's going to be able to pull this off, man.
Yeah, I agree. I think Lapilus by decision makes sense. Another play that you could maybe look at if you do want to take the dog side, just knowing how durable he is, if you find like one of those plus 3.5 point spreads on the dog here, I think if you're going to play him as a dog, that could be the best way to do it because he's super durable. He's super experienced. He's fought everyone you've named, Sonya, Dawn, all these guys, right? So I think if you're going to take a dog shot here, maybe you look at like a sprinkle on a sub, or maybe you look at that plus 3.5 point spread line. But I agree. I think there's a bunch of the fights on this card where you're like, oh, the dog's so live, but you just know the favorite's gonna fight off their back foot and outpoint them and win a decision. I think there's a few spots on that card where you just know it's gonna happen.
It feels like a value loser, right? Like Vince will go put in a good performance, but no way he hits the nod at the end, that kind of thing. Yeah. No, I hear you, man. I think Vince is he's gonna show what he's made of, and hopefully get an okay matchup in his next fight, but fully expect this one to go the distance, though. I think that might be kind of the easy spot here. We'll see what the number looks like when it comes out, but I'm sure it's juiced because it's a Lapilus fight, but I would rely on the durability of both guys here and think this one's probably going the distance.
Agreed.
All right. Next fight, we've got Ľudovít Klein, and he's taking on Roosevelt Roberts here. The Predator himself makes it back to the UFC, man. Maddie, I just want to tell you guys, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. I bitched and I moaned about the glove grab that robbed me of a plus 250 underdog in Vanessa Demopoulos. I used to get all upset about fighters like Vitor Belfort spin kicking people's heads off into the third row because they're not human. They're on so much HGH and testosterone replacement that it's not a fair fight anymore. They're not even human beings. They're basically super soldiers at this point. I'm done. I have discovered, Maddie, that the UFC is essentially encouraging these guys to go out there and cheat these days. So until further notice, I'm no longer going to get upset when somebody is a well-documented cheater. I'm just going to bet on them because we're trying to make money here. So if you've got someone who's going to eye poke, who's going to fence grab, who's going to grab the gloves, who's obviously on steroids, bet them. Instead of talking about, oh, they shouldn't be doing that, not a fair sport, just shut up and bet them. That's Ľudovít Klein this week here, Maddie. This man is juiced to the gills. My God, like his veins have veins. His veins have muscles. He's got so much muscle packed on that little frame. It's impossible. And he's taking on Roosevelt Roberts, who I just think the UFC is kind of done with at this point. I mean, he's 12-4. He was an exciting prospect, but at this point, he's 30 years old. They put him through the ringer. It was like, okay, man, you got the shot on Contender Series. He got a couple good wins in the UFC, good finishes. Then he steps up in competition. It just kind of ain't it. You know, he takes that one step up and it's like, oh man, okay, you're not making this happen. Then they give him Jim Miller and Jim Miller handles him. Ignacio Bahamondes. We got a soft spot for this guy because he's in the intro. He gets wheel kicked there by Ignacio Bahamondes. So the UFC is like, you know what? Maybe we need to get this guy out of here. They drop him. He wins a couple fights on the regional shows, and they think, you know what? Let's give him another crack at it. Instead of Contender Series, they put him on the Ultimate Fighter. Give him a shot at a comeback. He loses to Austin Hubbard, which frankly is just not aging well at this point. But they bring him in on short notice anyway because Mateusz Rebecki needs a warm body, and that's what they got. Rebecki runs through this guy in the first round. He's cannon fodder. Like he's on the roster. They're done with him, and they're going to give him the hardest fights that nobody wants because guys are not signing up to fight Ľudovít Klein right now. So they're throwing this kid in. And I think it's going to go probably about the way you'd expect. Ľudovít Klein just has murderous power. That left side kick is something just vicious. He's well-rounded now. I used to think this guy was nothing but a striker, but he's done a lot of work on his grappling. He can wrestle now. And it just seems like Roosevelt Roberts is breakable. You know, once this guy is not in the driver's seat, he will fold up and go home. And I think Ľudovít Klein's going to kick him until he does. So I think it's Klein. Shocking. I'm going to go ahead and pick the minus 800 favorite on this one, Maddie. I think it's Klein probably inside the distance. I expect the knockout here on this one.
Yeah. No, obviously I'm with you, but one thing I'll say, Ľudovít Klein, 8 career submissions. The submission is like 5 or 6 to 1 it's going to come in at. And he averages 1.66 takedowns per fight. You know, as elite of a kickboxer as he is, he does shoot those takedowns. Yeah. You know, so it's something to look at. The club and sub could be live. You know, everyone could end up getting crushed on this KO prop. It's going to be like minus 120. The sub could be there. So I think if you're going to play him, just go inside the distance just to be safe, pay the little extra juice. Also, and I can't believe this is accurate, but I'm seeing on Bet Online, it's like under 2.5 is minus 170.
Wow.
That doesn't feel that expensive.
No, it really doesn't, because Roberts has always been a finisher. Like when Roberts finishes, or when Roberts wins, it's usually a finish. I mean, he's got a couple of decisions, but yeah, I mean, Thomas Gifford, Alexander Yakovlev, like he's not a guy that's really going the distance a lot. I mean, Vince Pichel, but that guy's impossible to finish and drags everybody deep. And then when he's losing, it's spectacular. It's Jim Miller, it's Bahamondes. He's getting cracked by something big. Yeah, man, I don't mind that. So it looks like BetOnline's got submission plus 500 right now for Ľudovít Klein. So if you're looking to buck that trend, they're a little sharp to it right now.
I don't know how high level the guys that he's submitted are, right? They got to be on the lower level side, you know, prior to the UFC. But like I said, you're turning a minus 800 favorite in the 5 to 1. He gets over 1.5 takedowns per fight. His opponent's been submitted. It's something to at least look at for sure.
I don't mind it. And it's a good call out for the inside the distance, though, because if it's like minus 120 KO and minus 150 inside the distance, that's where you don't want to lose your bet because you didn't include that sub just in case. Look for that inside the distance number and make sure it's something that you can handle. I don't mind that call, man, but we're on the same side here. Going to be interesting to watch how this one plays out because it's that short versus tall thing, right? You've got the long, lanky bastard that's going to tower over the guy that's just going to kick the shit out of him.
Yeah.
All right, man. Next fight up, we've got Oumar C, and he's taking on Da Woon Jung. And Da Woon Jung is another guy that absolutely sold me down the river, Maddie. I bought in on Woon Jung. Okay, this guy is from Korea, and they're trying to expand the market over there. He's young, he's big, he hits hard. The draw against Sam Alvey really should have been everything I needed to see, right? Like the fact that he went to a draw with Sam Alvey, I should have pumped the brakes right away. But when he knocked out Kennedy and Njoku, I really was like, that's the one, man. I was high on Kennedy. I cashed a bunch of tickets on Kennedy, and I really was not expecting him to lose that fight, especially not the way he did. That's the one where this guy like elbowed him through the guard and still put him out. I was like, the raw power on Woon Jung, that Sam Alvey fight must have been like a young kid making young kid mistakes type of situation. No. He has gone on to lose 3 in a row, got the step up in competition, got nuked by Dustin Jacoby. He lost to Devin Clark.
I had the round 1 KO on that one.
Bro, good call.
I was on a cruise ship when that happened. That was electric.
Good freaking call. Yeah, so and then he gets decisioned by Devin Clark, which is an even worse red flag than losing or going to a no contest with Sam Alvey. And then my guy Dixon Sider has already got the theme here. Getting submitted by Carlos Ulberg, massive red flag. Getting knocked out by Carlos Ulberg or losing to Ulberg, okay, no big deal. But getting subbed by Ulberg, like it just everything on this guy's run in the UFC is a red flag at this point. Matty, I don't know what he's good at. I used to think I knew this guy. I don't know what he's good at. Is he a very good striker? No, apparently not. Is he a good grappler? Not if you're getting out wrestled and out hustled by cut Devin Clark at this point. Does he have power? I mean, maybe, but we've figured out that Kennedy Njoku is actually pretty chinny. So what does this guy do well? And the answer is, I don't know. Oumar Sy is coming into the UFC from France, 10-0, undefeated, on UFC Paris, a member of Bulgarian top team. I think he's brothers with Sadabusi that's in like the PFL Bellator these days. This kid is a beast. I mean, he can win by decision. He's already done it a couple times, and that's one of the things that gives me a little bit of confidence with seeing this spot is that he's actually been 15 minutes and looked dominant doing several times already before he made it to the big show. So I know he's got 15 minutes of cardio. I know he's got 15 minutes of game planning, but if he gets on top of you, he also can just end the night like straight away. The blast double legs, the quick back takes, the ground and pound. He knows how to make sure you're always carrying his weight in a grappling exchange. He's always getting up high on you, and that provides opportunities to either attack or take your back and submit. I think this is a smash spot. I'm pretty sure the UFC has put Oumar Sy in a position here to really show out on home soil. He's a minus 500 favorite, and I'm pretty sure the Woon Jung experience is just kind of over at this point. Maddie, do you think we have a live dog, or are you with me laying chalk here again one more time?
I'm hammering a round 1-2 finish here. I want to see what the number is, but like I think it's an early takedown. I think he's going to get him out of there in round 1. Whether it's ground and pound whether it's ground and pound or a sub. But I think this is a perfect. Is this the featured prelim?
This is, if it's not the featured prelim, there's only one more after it. Let me double check the lineup here.
Because this is just a perfect spot to feature him here. He's going to come out, take this fight to the ground, get him out early. Is my prediction.
Yeah. No, with how big this card is. So Tapology doesn't actually have the split here for main card versus prelim. Oh, they've got, what? There is one more after this one listed as a prelim, and then main card kicks off with Ziam and Frevola. So Cutelaba is the feature here.
I see they should have switched that.
I would tend to agree, especially after looking at Cutelaba's opponent. But you know what? Let's just go ahead and talk about that one. Why don't we? We're both picking the minus 500 favorite, and we're both thinking he's gonna finish probably early. So what about the next fight? What about this one? I own the whole Cutelaba is welcoming Ivan Erslan to the UFC, and they are the featured prelim fight here of this card, you guys, which, by the way, for most of us in the world, I think is a morning card. So mimosas and waffles this week, baby. Make sure you get a drink.
I'm going to Paris, did I tell you?
No, you didn't. You're going?
I'm leaving Wednesday afternoon. I'm dreading the flight. I'm dreading the flight.
How long's the flight?
Flying. So I got like it was like a $2,000 difference to go nonstop versus one stop. So I was like, I'd rather put that 2,000 on the fights. So I was like, I'll just take the stop. I actually don't mind a stop because a nonstop's 9 hours. Like Moicano took a 9-hour flight there the other day. I'm leaving Wednesday. It's 13 hours total. So I get a little break, jumping onto a second plane. But I'm like, fuck it, I don't really care. I'm just gonna take something to knock me out and just sleep most of the flight. But I'm pumped, bro. I've never been to Paris. I'm be betting some euros on the fight, so hopefully they have a sports book there.
Bro, that's so cool. That is so awesome. And one of these days you're gonna have to take me on one of these wild trips of yours, man. That is so freaking cool. Gonna be there for Paris. So he's gonna be struggling with some sleep. Make sure you try and reset your clock before you get on that plane, man. Because these fights are gonna be prime time for Paris. But those of us over here stateside, grab a breakfast burrito, baby. It's going to be first thing in the morning. I'm going to be drinking fireball shots way before it's acceptable to do so. So get cracking early, boys. Ailín Cutelaba and Ivan Erslan, man. So Ailín Cutelaba is another one where he's just kind of settled into this fun fighter role. He's moved around a little bit, switched weight classes a couple times, 17-10. And it's become pretty clear that he's another bully. He's another good hammer and bad nail. He's a guy that'll get in there and he'll wrestle his ass off. And if he can take you down and sit on top of you and not really worry about it, he's just going to do that. But if he's going to be expected to stand and bang with you, that doesn't really tend to go well for him these days. He leaves his neck out there. He sticks it straight into front chokes. One of my favorite bets of all time was cashing the Johnny Walker submission at 16-1. That was beautiful. And I look for opportunities like that on the regular with this guy. Now that we know if he gets hurt, he's just going to hang his neck out there. But they're giving him a tough order, man. Ivan Erslan, I'm not sure quite what to make of this guy. He's another American top team dude, 32 years old. He's coming to us from KSW. And I've watched a couple of his fights, and he's just really plotting. Heavy on the feet, keeps that high guard up, protecting his head, and just kind of walks his way forward. It seems like he's got half decent wrestling, or counter wrestling at least. He's got heavy, strong hips. So I think he's going to be real hard to get in there and take down. But he's low volume. He's a big, heavy power puncher that's a little on the low volume side. I don't know what to do with this fight, because you can't trust Ailín Cutelaba as far as you can throw the guy. He just does shit. He will get disqualified. He will fake like he's hurt, and the ref will step in and actually stop the fight thinking that he's rocked and concussed. That's the kind of guy you're dealing with here. So it's almost impossible to put your money on Ailín Cutelaba. But this Ivan guy is not really impressing me. He's a bit of an up and down guy outside the UFC. Seems to be the local flavor, likes his round one KOs, but he also can get decisioned, and he's been finished in a lot of his fights as well. So man, coin flip fight that I think is going to be all team violence. You're going to have to pick a side if you're playing daily fantasy or something like that on this one, but I don't have to bet this, Maddie. You got -120 on Ailín Cutelaba, +100 on Ivan Erslan. And I kind of want to lean with the wrestling of Ailín, but I know the UFC is trying to set up Ivan with a win on home turf here. So I'm probably going to stay away. What do you make of this fight, man? Talk to me.
Yeah, I think you nailed the breakdown. It's really tough. I mean,
Reese.
Cutelaba by knockouts +125. I mean, what a joke that is. And then Ivan by knockouts +170. I guess if I had to pick one or the other, I'm going the bigger number at +170 here. You mentioned he's low volume, but Cutelaba can get chinned pretty easily. I think, gun to my head, I'm taking Ivan by knockout here at +170. But this is just, I don't understand why this is the featured prelim. I don't get it, but I don't really know what to do with this fight. I do want to watch some more footage on this one as well, because I haven't spent enough time on it.
Okay. Yeah, man. I think this one's featured prelim because there's not much shot of it hitting round 2. You know what I mean?
Under 1.5 is, I think, -140. Yeah. -144.
In an Ailín Cutelaba fight, I think that's generally the way to look. And if Ivan is winning this thing, it's probably because he lands a big old uppercut or something. So, under probably is the only way to look for me here. But I guess slight lean to the UFC level experience with Ailín Cutelaba. We'll see, though. I'm not touching this one, guys. Not touching it. Hey, but let's take a minute real quick here and shout out some of our sponsors, guys. This is Home of Fight. And if you're not in the Telegram, what are you doing with your lives? They've got an interview up with Money Moicano. He is on his way to Paris to try and whoop some ass. And you guys can check all that out and any breaking UFC news you could be looking for right here in the Telegram. It's an awesome place to be with a bunch of other UFC fight fans. Doesn't cost you a damn thing. Link in the description below. Come hang out with us. Spectation Sports. I'll always talk about this when you guys, if you're doing your previews for Dana White's Contender Series and things like that, they've got a massive log of fighters, and a bunch of the guys that are getting their shots on Contender Series are coming from the farming, regional shows that are on Spectation rather than being on Fight Pass. They've got some really great shows coming up. In fact, Lights Out Championship 19, the return of Kevin Lee. He's coming back and fighting on the regionals. You don't want to miss that. Promo code DieHard will get you 20% off of that subscription, so make sure you check them out. I do want to shout out and mention the boys over at fightnumbers.com. We like them. You can get a discount from them as well with promo code DieHard, and that link is also in the description below. Tools, analytics, UFC trends. This is the best odds board in the game, up to date with all the major books. So make sure you're using that and supporting them. That's our guy, John Kelly, running the things over there. So we definitely want to make sure we are participating and helping them out. Last but certainly not least, my boys over at Bet Openly. We are knocking on the door of $8 billion saved for gamblers because of the 1% juice. Can you believe it, guys? Money between each other, 1% juice. You are not having to deal with a bookie who's making you lay some ridiculous spread where there's a 60-cent middle or something like that. If it's plus 100 for you, it's plus 100 for me. I can put your kids through college when I lose my bets instead of putting a bookie's kids through college when I lose bets. There's player props, over-unders, football, spreads. Everything you could ever want for is right here. On top of that, contest challenges. I give away money every single week using the giveaway challenge platform. In fact, we are closing out a $50 giveaway tonight with the spread picks on the NFL game. So if you guys want to win some free cash, get signed up. There's no reason not to. You could win some free cash, try it out with the money you won from that, and then you'll fall in love with it. I promise you that. But there's one more thing I think we want to mention, though. My guy, Maddie, I think we have some kind of a promo going on right now, and we've got some stuff in the works for our UFC fans here. Do we not?
Yeah, for sure. So Hey Jive Picks and Nolan the Parlay, they're a part of Hoba Fight Picks now. I believe the best value in the industry, super consistent. Nolan's won like 5 or 6 out of his last 6 or 7 straight Contender Series plays or cards, and then Hayden's won 6 out of his last 7 UFC cards. So they wanted me to offer everyone that's watching a free week. If you guys want to check that out, I think Clint's going to put it in the description. But basically, code Maddie will get you guys 7 days free. The cool thing is everything gets texted right to your phone. So you get the UFC cards, the Contender Series picks, everything texted right to your phone for both those guys.
That's the move. So we're going through Winnable for that. You guys check that link out. I will put that in the description of the video down here below as well. As you guys know, I'm the free entertainment around here. Those guys actually pay the bills with the picks that they make.
I'm in the same situation. I'll tell you one thing. Like when I'm traveling or I'm like I don't even have time to handicap. I'll come back and I'm like, all right, Contender Series is the night. I haven't even looked at the shit yet. And I'll literally just tail Nolan and Hayden. I've made like tens of thousands of dollars from Contender Series. Nolan's literally hits every card. It's unbelievable.
He's a beast on
He spends a whole week handicapping Contender Series. It's insane. So I got to shout both those guys out. They definitely put the time in. That's without question. And they actually care about the people on the other side getting the picks, because there's a lot of people in this industry that don't give a shit, if we're being honest.
Yeah, no, it's true. Those guys are solid. They're, I like to degen my ass off. You guys know I swing from the freaking rafters when I go. They are consistent. They put winners out there regularly, and they're the ones that you need to check out. When your drug dealer gives you, that good shit that hits you hard and fast real quick, that's me and Maddie. We're the ones that will get you on the train, and then you get that consistent customer. That's those two guys. So
hey, if it takes a lot of swings. If I had a Paul Craig, 40-1 round 2 TKO against Andre Muniz, there's a lot of losses in between those big hits.
Exactly.
So I get a lot of hate on the losses. Like people will be like, this one guy one day was like, Paul Craig by knockout was your worst bet ever. He was referring to the fight against Caio Braulio. And I was like, he's like, Paul Craig by knockout. He's like, that's the worst bet. And I was like, which time? The time he fought Caio or when he fought Andre Muniz? Because people don't understand. You hit a 40-1 and then you lose one bet after. It's like the world is ending. It doesn't matter. It's about playing the numbers. That gives me 40 losses if I need it.
Yep. You're free rolling a little bit when you hit those kind of numbers. I feel you. That's the way I play the game too. People aren't super fans of it, but then they get excited when you hit a Chase Hooper round 3 TKO at 50 to 1 too. So I'm right there with you, Maddie.
It's the best. It's the best hitting the long shots, bro. I live for them.
No kidding. That shit's like crack. All right, guys. We got a couple more fights to go ahead and get through here. I see Jamar Chase already went deep and hit a massive bomb. So I might be in trouble tonight, you guys.
Hold on. Did he score who scored the first TD, though?
Jamar Chase. Yeah.
That dude just hit 115,000. Some guy on DraftKings had a anytime TD parlay, and Jamar was the first touchdown.
Wow. See, I have such bad FOMO. I'm the worst kind of gambler. I see the shit other people like hit, and I'm like,
oh, that's why they do it. Why do you think all the companies promote it?
No kidding. No, I'm the target audience.
That's
I absolutely
crazy that he hit that.
Oh, that's nuts. All right. Wow. Let's get through the rest of these fights now, man. Next up, we got Ziam, and he's taking on Matt, the steamroller Frevola. You guys know we love our Matt Frevola, right? Dude's a fun personality. He's a great follow on Twitter. He's an exciting fighter. But I have such a hard time with him because I worry about his durability. He's 11-4-1. He's 34 years old at this point. He is coming off getting nuked by Benoit Saint-Denis, but just before that, he absolutely destroyed Drew Dober in a spot that not a lot of people were expecting him to go out and handle Drew the way that he did. This is such a random fight because Ziam is the hometown guy, 15-4, 27 years old, fighting out of Killcliff FC, I believe. So he's a decent bit younger, and he's got probably a lot more room to grow and develop, and he's doing that. We've been betting on Ziam and doing quite well on him his last couple of fights, Maddie, because you can just see the improvements in him. He's a bit of a point striker, but he uses his height and reach very well. I think he's got a lot of upside that he just hasn't quite cashed in on yet. You know, when he was fighting Claudio Puelles, the UFC stats don't reflect it, but he dropped bro with a jab. I mean, like, he just banked him perfectly right on the button in round one, sat his ass down, and then went to kind of maul him on top with ground and pound in a spot where then he let it slip away a little bit. You know, he ended up fighting to a decision, which is not the most impressive thing in the world. I don't know why anybody scored that fight for Puelles. That should not have been a split decision. It's another one where Dana White probably would have walked that official out after reading off his scorecard, because you couldn't score that fight for Puelles. Not in a million years could you score that fight for Puelles. So, you know, he's still got some room to grow. This is a big jump up and a fast one, too. I worry about the durability of Matt Frevola, but the fact is he can wrestle his ass off. Ziam has struggled with the grappling. He is showing the right signs. He's got the sense of urgency to get to the cage, to work his way back up to the feet. So he's doing all the right things. He's doing all the stuff that you do want to see out of him. But you don't necessarily want to still be struggling with takedowns when you're fighting a guy like Matt Frevola. I kind of feel like the UFC is putting this fight together hoping that Ziam touches him early and gets like a highlight reel KO over a chinny, well-known fan favorite. But the reverse of that is Frevola might just maul this guy. So I can see the argument for both sides of this fight. I actually expected to kind of bump the trend here and bet on Ziam in this spot. But then as I was thinking about it, I'm just like, man, there's so many more ways that Frevola has to win. I understand why he's the quote unquote public side here, even though the line is moving towards Ziam. And I initially felt that way myself. I can see all the different ways that Matt Frevola can actually just come out and kind of do the damn thing here. So if he doesn't get bonked, I think Frevola wins. And because of that, I kind of want to pick him. I don't think I'm betting this fight, Maddie. It's another one where I can way too clearly see either of these guys getting it done. I'm going to lean ever so slightly to Matt Frevola using his grappling chops and getting it done that way. But don't be shocked if he slips up and gets binked here.
Yeah, bro. So I've gone back and forth a little bit on this fight. My first reaction or my first read was to back Matt Frevola here. He, like you said, he has the different paths to win this thing. I think ultimately my favorite play on this fight is going to be under 2.5 at plus money. I think it's about plus 110 right now on Bet Online. So we'll see what that number comes out on some of these other sites. But I think we're getting plus money on that because you said it, like Ziam, you know, he can be a point fighter. But Frevola's not a guy that, you know, is going to let you be a point fighter. Like, he's either going to get tagged coming in or he's going to try to get you out of there. Even if he wrestles, I think he's going to be very aggressive, trying to chase finishes with the wrestling, trying to, you know, land the ground and pound. I can't see him just winning a unanimous decision by wrestling for 3 rounds. Like he wants to put on a show. I think he can get tagged coming in at the same time. So like my favorite bet on that fight is just going to be the under, or the fight. Even if you can get close to even money on the fight to not go the distance, I think that's going to make sense for me. But I'm rooting for Matt Frevola here. He just tweeted today, actually. He's like, I'm going to have to remind people, like they must have forgot, or he said something like that. Yep. So that actually kind of worries you a little bit, right? Because like, is he chasing a knockout on the feet when he should be, implementing the wrestling in this matchup? But that's going to be a good fight. I think it's a great stylistic matchup
for sure.
Maybe Matt Frevola it's one of those things where if you're a striker like Ziam, you're waiting for that takedown. Maybe Frevola just catches him on the feet because he is trying to anticipate the timing of defending those takedowns. So I think that's live too. Everything in this fight just makes me want to just take the under. I like the under a lot in this matchup. You guys lost me on camera. Camera. Sorry, guys.
Camera died?
Just turned off.
Oh, gotta love the technical difficulties. No, man,
I'm still right hear there. Me though?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're still coming through clean, loud.
Yeah, but I just like the under. I like the under 2.5 for fight to not go the distance here.
I think that's probably a good look in this spot. I mean, Matt Frevola, when he does get KO'd, it's early and it's fast. So if he gets clipped early, that's probably the way it goes. And then if you've got a guy that's got the kind of power it takes to one hitter quitter a dude like Trudober, yeah, he can probably finish a guy, even a durable guy like a Faraz Ziam. And like you mentioned, you're trying to defend against that takedown, and then you go ahead and get caught with the overhand that, Khabib almost knocked out Conor with that thing because you don't see it coming. The other thing that we need to talk about is even though Faraz Ziam's grappling and wrestling defense is improving, his finish losses have all been by sub. When you've got a mauling wrestling grappler like Frevola, who's a guy that knows what the hell he's doing on the mat as well, you can't count that out. He's got 3 submission wins. He's only got 4 KOs. We think of him as a swang and bang type of knockout artist, but he's only got 1 more knockout than he has sub over the course of his career.
Because all of his finishes as of late have been knockouts, but if you kind of go back here and see, some of those submissions early, and he's fought really, I mean, he has a win over Jalen Turner. The McKinney one is always, to me, going to be fluke, that loss, right? That's always going to be fluke. Yeah, that was just crazy how that happened. But, I guess that's why
people weren't ready for Terrence yet.
Yeah. So the Benoit, I mean, a lot of people didn't like that performance against Benoit. I liked his aggression. I mean, obviously, you get caught with a head kick. I mean, even Dustin Poirier, gets caught with a head kick against Gaethje. Like, it is what it is. It happens. So I think that's a good loss for him to kind of, come back here. This, to me, is a step down in competition for him from his last 2 fights. Dober, and you can make the argument on Dober, but definitely on Benoit. You guys lost me again. My camera, damn it, bro.
It's all good, man. It happens. Oh man, my guy Dixon Sider saying, Clint, did you get CTE from taking the paintball to the dome? Dude, I don't know if it's even there anymore. Let me see. Can you guys see that right? Can you guys see right here, top left? Look at that. I know you're seeing like the rings on the hat and stuff like that, but I went paintballing for a buddy's bachelor party this past weekend, and the very first shot that I took was, the visor stops like right here. So like my bald ass head was hanging out on top, and someone caught me right in the top of the dome. It hurt, dude. Like, and of course I get home and I show my wife, and she immediately like sticks her finger in it and pokes it. It hurt for a couple of days afterward, but I'm alive. I survived. Thank you, Dixon. I appreciate you worrying about me. All right, guys. We're getting there. Next fight we have got is Morgan Charriere, and he takes on Gabriel Miranda. Fun fight. This one's going to be a fun fight, man. I will die on the hill that Morgan Charriere got robbed in his last fight. There's been a couple fighters that just do their best bully impression. They like to punch me in the gut and take my milk money. One of those is Chepe Mariscal. I cannot be on the right side of a Chepe Mariscal fight. And I promise you guys, Morgan Charriere won that fight. It was a tough split decision loss that he absolutely should have had go his way. But this kid is slick, man. He's got a lot of experience. He's got a lot of wins and losses. But the thing people forget is he's only 28. He's like a very high level talent. And he took his bum losses early. You know what I mean? I think he's probably grown and developed from those losses, and we're seeing him kind of hit his prime and his stride at the right time. And Chepe is not a guy that you can look past. So going to a split, win or lose in that situation, a 15-minute fight with Chepe Mariscal in 2024 is not something to sniff at. So I'm not too worried about it. They're putting him in there with Gabriel Miranda, who's 17-6. Now, Miranda, 34 years old. He's a bit on the old side. He's big. This is a big, strong man, you guys. But the one thing that I was able to really kind of pinpoint, especially when he first got going, they put him in there with my guy, Wrecking Ball, Benoit Saint-Denis, is he's a very, very good grappler, Maddie. Very strong jiu-jitsu. He is awful wrestling. He just kind of blows you over. Like, he goes in there and just kind of like tries to grab a single leg and then lean on you, hoping you'll fall over and he can initiate a scramble. He has no sense of wrestling whatsoever. Doesn't know what a double leg is. Couldn't find it in a dictionary. So this guy has to find a way to get you to the ground, and he struggles to do that. If he doesn't do that, he's not a great striker, and he has really bad cardio. This is a beautiful bounce back fight for Morgan Charriere, because this kid has got some sick takedown defense. He is very hard to take down, and he's even harder to keep down. So even if Gabriel Miranda is just too big and kind of puts him down the one time, I don't see him getting a round one sub and putting him away. I see Morgan finding a way back up to the feet. And if he needs to, round two will start, and then Miranda will not have an answer. I kind of think Morgan Charriere is going to put this guy away in round two or round three as he kind of starts to slow down, and Morgan can just kind of roast that giant body of his and get him out of there with a TKO of some sort, man.
Yeah, I'm Morgan TKO here for sure. Guy, if he had submission, if he had, defensively, if he had submission problems, like he could come in and get subbed by this guy, then I would have to think twice on it. But I'm not overthinking this one. I mean, this guy's a 39% striking defense. I don't think he's going to be able to submit Morgan here. So I'm just taking the TKO. I need to see what the number comes in at. I didn't even look on Bet Online yet, but to me, it's a no-brainer. I liked Morgan's performance against Chepe, and I think it's actually aged well, because I think Chepe's looked really good. So I'm not overthinking it. I really like the KO prop here, depending on the number.
Morgan KO is minus 125 on Bet Online right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a great number, but is he going to win the decision? Maybe.
Is he submitting anybody?
It's decision or KO. So, I think he's going to get a TKO on the ground. I can see if Miranda chases some bullshit jiu-jitsu stuff, I can just see him like finding the chin on the ground.
Completely
he's a pretty
agree.
Aggressive striker, so we'll see. But
yeah,
I like the KO prop.
And I think Charriere also will he'll go to work with his hands when he's got his opponent hurt too. So like if Gabriel Miranda ends up in like a knee bar type situation, how they end up like on their side kind of half face down and they'll eat a shot or two. Like I think he'll just like loop the arm around him and start pounding, man. I think he can get a ground and pound TKO here.
My God, the Jags defense is so fucking bad.
Oh, they're so brutal, dude.
This is so fucking painful. I needed either a Josh Allen run or a Curtis Samuel TD, which he's actually more involved tonight, but it's not going well.
Who just went in? Oh, Khalil Shakir just went in. God, it's a bloodbath, man. 26-3, and it's not even halftime yet.
Bro, it's not good.
Oh my God, I thought the Jags were going to be better than that, man. Woof. Brutal. Okay. You know what though? And that's bad news bears for me, man, because I was looking at the Texans next week thinking they were going to have like a must-win situation tonight. Instead, they're going to just like lay down, take the L, and play the Texans hard next week. That's not good for me. That's not good. All right. Well, it is what it is. Commanders are also putting up a fight against the Bengals, and that's my survivor pick for the week, so I might be in trouble. Oh, boy. Bad night. Bad night. All right. Here we go. Let's get back to the MMA. Hopefully that goes better for me, guys. Next up, you got Kevin Jousset, and he takes on Bryan Battle. I have also similarly, Maddie, not believed in Kevin Jousset. He's one of these guys that he comes from City Kickboxing. City Kickboxing, they're all on their way out. They're not at the peak of their powers anymore. And he's just the straggler. He's the dude in the gym. He got signed. He's part of the crew, but he's 31 years old. And he just seems to be a little bit worse than all the other City Kickboxers over there, in my opinion. Now, he comes out and he handles Kiefer Crosby. Okay, big whoop. He got on a pay-per-view thanks to Israel Adesanya. They give him Keenan Song. Keenan Song is not anything to write home about in 2024 either. He did do a better job of putting up volume, because I kind of thought Jousset was a low volume, pot shot type of striker, generally speaking. And then he out-volumed a guy like Song. But Song cannot find you in the cage. He's got no footwork. He's very plodding, heavy on his feet, just kind of walks you down. And if you cut angles, you're never gonna find a shot in that kind of a circumstance. So it's no surprise that Kevin Jousset won that fight. Now he's taking on Bryan Battle. Battle is 10-2. He's 30 years old, and he's one of these guys that the UFC really likes, it seems. You know, he's a darling from The Ultimate Fighter, and they like to push those guys, let them grow, put them in winning situations. And so far, he has done that. Now, I tried to poke a little bit of a hole in Bryan Battle against Ange Loosa his last time out. And I'll tell you guys, that no contest saved my ass, because I bet Ange Loosa and he was whooping that ass. Like, that was not even a close competitive fight. Ange Loosa was well on his way to getting taken out there. And the foul that he took that ended up being a no contest saved me a couple of bucks. Now they're spinning him around, and they're giving him Kevin Jousset, who's on a 2-fight win streak. And like I said, I just think this is the next progression for Bryan Battle, right? They're giving him a guy that's a test, but a winnable test. And that's exactly what I think this is. This line was a little bit closer a couple of days ago. The money is coming in on Bryan Battle. I agree with it. I think he's a rightful favorite. He should win this fight. And I think he can really do about anything he wants to, man. He's one of these well-rounded guys that when you think he's going to strike, he can grapple. When you think he needs to grapple, he'll go out there and strike with you. You know, I always talk about the AJ Fletcher fight, where the way I saw that fight going was Fletcher has to grapple to have any sort of shot in that fight. And he actually came out and started hurting Bryan Battle on the feet. And I went, oh my God, maybe I shortchanged AJ Fletcher here because he's the better grappler. He's also winning the striking. Bryan Battle said, no, bro. And he started wrestling and put AJ on his ass and like completely flipped the script on me, won by sub. And I'm thinking, one guy's the better striker, the other guy's the better grappler. They showed me the reverse was actually what was going on there. So it's a weird situation where I don't think you can ever doubt Bryan Battle in any aspect of MMA. And that's the kind of guy I like to have my money on. If he needs to grapple, he will. If he needs to strike, he can. So I think he'll go out there and find a way to win this weekend, man. I like Bryan Battle.
Yeah, I cashed on Bryan Battle on the submission prop against AJ Fletcher. I love taking guys with slick jiu-jitsu against guys that are going to come forward and wrestle and pressure you. And in this spot, like, I wish I would have got a better number on Battle, because like you said, the numbers climbed a little bit, but I love his money line here. I love him inside the distance. I think he could get a KO on the feet. I think he could win on the scorecards. I think he could win by sub. Like, I think everything's live here, so I think you just play the money line. But it's a great spot for him. Jousset's very low volume too, so it's like, I feel like if he doesn't catch Bryan Battle, he's not winning this fight on a scorecard either. So I'm actually surprised Battle's not a bigger favorite here. I mean, everything he's done in the UFC to this date has been pretty impressive. I love his reach. I love his submission ability. I love his power on the feet. And he's just a dog. You know, he just has the mentality of a dog. So I love him in this spot here for sure.
Okay. I'm glad we agree on that one, man. I'm not sure there's too much to say. I mean, he could get shown the door by a better striker on the feet, but that's when I think he'll just abuse the grappling advantage if that's the case, because I don't think Kevin Jousset can hang with him on the ground.
Yeah, and if you look at some of the guys Jousset's beat him by decision, like, he's not getting them out of there. It's not the most impressive thing ever. So again, unless I think like Jousset, if he can find a big shot maybe in round one, if Battle's just being overly aggressive, then maybe. But I actually think I might play Battle round 2, 3 here. Maybe look at something like that, depending on the numbers.
I don't mind it, man. I do not mind it. Evan says, great show, fellas, and full camp Bryan Battle is built different. Couldn't agree more, Evan. Thanks for stopping by, buddy. Good to see you, man. All right. Next on the docket is William Gomis taking on Joanderson Brito. And Patty, I've still not forgiven Joanderson Brito. This son of a bitch. I had JSP, my guy from Fight Ready, and he was
Joanderson Brito, bro.
Oh my God, he was mauling Joanderson Brito.
Guys, dude, you know what's crazy is I think that leg was on the big parlay I cashed.
Yep, it was. You and I were on opposite sides on that one. But that was the night that I learned you simply do not doubt Joanderson Brito. That's all it comes down to, man. This is one of those fighters that I have no interest in stepping in front of. I don't need to bet against this man in any way, shape, or form. I could find all a million reasons why this guy's not going to win. He finds ways to win. He's a miniature little Yoel Romero. He is so explosive. He can hit big power shots and put people 6 feet under. His submission game is off the charts. He was getting handily out grappled by my guy JSP. And then instead of just taking his L and going home, when JSP was talking shit to him, he said, okay, let's go. And he turned the tables on him and found a way to choke him out. Like, you can't mess with this man. Now, William Gomis, he's a guy that I actually really like. I think William Gomis is a lot like Faraz Ziam, where this is a young talent. Yeah. He's a bit of a point striker, but he's finding his way to finishes. He's improving. He's getting better. He's rounding out his game. He's the hometown fighter here. But every once in a while, we talk about it, man. Every one of these like themed cards, there's a lamb to slaughter. There's one guy that's the hometown fighter that they're like, yeah, but we kind of want the other guy to get a spotlight in this big crowd. And I think that's what's happening here. I think this is Joanderson Brito's fight, not William Gomis' fight. So I'm picking William Gomis. I think he just finds a way to win no matter what. And I think William is going to have to fight the perfect fight to win this thing. And I'm done trusting fighters to fight perfectly for 15 straight minutes. He's going to have to stick and move. Brito has to not be able to find him in there. And I think at some point Brito will find him in there. So I don't know how he's going to do it, but I'm picking Joanderson Brito to win.
Yeah. So to be clear, I could never fade Joanderson Brito. That's my guy. I love his fight style. So the parlay I cashed. So when he subbed JSP, I'm going to read this parlay. So I had 1,000 to win. I had 1,000 to win 8,300. And I had Mauricio Ruffy by knockout. And then I had Brito by sub as the last leg. And I thought I was toast, right? The way the Brito fight was playing out. Like, JSP looks so good with his grappling. And I just played. I was like, all right, come on, Brito, we need a sub here. And it smashed. So I can't fade him. He's my guy ever since then. He is a little expensive of a favorite here, right? Isn't he like -2? I want to say -2.
Damn near 3-1.
Yeah, almost 3-1. So I'm not going to be looking at that money line, right? Because there is a chance he could get maybe outpoint here. Yeah. One thing I will say is you look at the height difference, it's substantial, but then the reach, it's 73 inches to 72 inches.
How crazy.
So we're getting the guy with pretty much the same reach, who's more aggressive, has more finishing upside. And I just think he gets it done. So I could see the sub for sure. Sub and JSP was pretty impressive to me.
Yeah, dude, I
think I'm going to chase that sub prop. There's a lot of fights on this card. I'm going to have multiple submission special parlays, bro. You just have to.
I like it. Hey, a lot of these fighters on this card are slicker and don't have the best power. And in that circumstance, you look for the sub. When people, they get beaten up, they get worn down, they get tapped out. And if you're not a kind of power bomb slinger type of fighter, then definitely that's a way that you can get your fight done. So I like looking for the submissions on this kind of a card, man. I think that's a good call for the most part. All right, everybody, do us a favor, hit that like button. We've got over 500 live viewers. Thank you very much for being here for UFC Paris. We got 2 more fights to talk about, and then we'll let you go watch football. Next up, you got Nassourdine Imavov taking on Brendan All-In Allen. What a fight. This is a fantastic co-main event. This one's going to be fun, man. The problem for me, Maddie, is both of these guys are a little bit on my shit list. So like Nassourdine Imavov, I called early on, like way early on, that I thought he was maybe going to be something. When he made his UFC debut, I was like, I think I might like this kid. And then he lost to Phil Hawes. And that was immediately like, that was the Sam Alvey split, right? I'm like, no, you're done. If you lose to Phil Hawes, you're dead to me. I do not think you're a prospect. You're not a title challenger. You're not going to make it in the UFC if you're losing to Phil Hawes. He's since pretty much proven me wrong with a quickness. Finishes over Ian Heinisch and Edmund Shabazian. The Shabazian one we don't need to write home about, but fought his ass off and fought well with Sean Strickland, went to war with Chris Curtis. I mean, the clash of heads, I could go on for days about how my guy Chris Curtis is on the robbery end of pretty much every fight he's been in for the last 3 years. But his last fight against Jared Cannonier, dropping Roman Dolidze and then finishing Jared Cannonier, even if it was a bit of a questionable stoppage deep in that fight, the way we know Cannonier likes to turn up, being able to out gas tank a guy like Cannonier, impressive as all hell. I am back on the Nassourdine Imavov train. I believe again. He has made me believe, and he's still very, very young, man. He checked out at 5 rounds of cardio, and that's a big, big thing for me. 28 years old. There's a lot that this guy can do moving forward. Brendan Allen, 24 and 5. He is also 28 years old, and I believe these guys have a matching 75-inch reach. All-In Allen is a guy that I've tried to fade several times. The last time I faded him successfully was with Chris Curtis. When Chris Curtis knocked this guy out in round 2, I was one of the few people cashing big dog odds on my guy Action Man. And I tried to go back to the well with Chris Curtis here in this last fight. And frankly, Maddie, I think my guy Chris got robbed. I feel like Chris won that fight. And there was a moment in there where Chris had him hurt and he could have finished him yet again. And he kind of took his foot off the gas. Real tough scenes for me on that one. But Brendan Allen has made some serious improvements. He's looked really good, finishing Paul Craig. I don't think anybody was surprised by that. I actually bet on Brendan Allen when he fought Andre Muniz, and also I believe when he fought Punahele Soriano. So I've had some success both for and against with Brendan Allen. I think he's such a defensive liability that it's going to catch him here, man. He moves up in class, and that's when you see the cracks in his game. He's a brutal offensive finisher, but he's a grappling specialist, a submission artist, and his striking just has never quite caught all the way up. He's got solid power, so he can get the respect on the feet, but the defensive liability just has never been something that's gone away. And look at the names of the guys that he's fighting against. Sam Alvey. I love Sam. I'm the biggest Sam fan around. He's long gone at this point. Malkoun couldn't bust a grape. Christoph Jotko, losing on the PFL, also couldn't bust a grape. Andre Muniz, grappler versus grappler. Bruno Silva, he's got one punch, but that guy can't grapple to save his soul. So it doesn't shock me that he ended up winning on that one. Paul Craig, another guy that can't strike. They're really doing a good job of matching Brendan Allen against gassy, chinny guys who can't strike or don't have power. That's all he's faced. Now he's at the top of the division again. I think Chris Curtis beat him. And at the very worst case scenario, Curtis exposed the fact that Allen hasn't patched up the hole in his game that I think I can take advantage of. Nassourdine Imavov can strike. This guy can grapple. He can wrestle. He's got good, solid submission defense. So I think he's going to check the boxes defensively where Brendan Allen is strong. And then where Brendan Allen is weak, Imavov is going to make him pay. I think we're going to see a late TKO here, man. I think Imavov is going to stay safe early, drag this fight deep around 2, round 3, he starts pouring it on Brendan Allen, and when Allen can't hit another takedown, he's going to be in trouble. I think Imavov is going to knock him out.
So some insight on this fight that actually Gilbert Burns told me on the podcast. He said that Brendan Allen asked for a 5-rounder. Like, he's like, if I'm going to Paris to fight this dude in France, I want a 5-rounder, right?
Yeah.
And apparently Imavov turned it down, and they went 3 rounds. Which I don't understand. I don't know what you think, but I think Imavov has a better advantage on a 5-rounder. We just saw how good he looked against Cannonier. Mm-hmm. And I actually like Brendan Allen for that reason on the 3-rounder. Oh, I thought that was Curtis Samuel. What the fuck? Who was that? Someone just scored again for the Bills.
They scored another touchdown? You got to be kidding me.
In the first half, but anyways, I actually like
everybody
Brendan
on the team
Allen.
Is going to get a touchdown in this game.
Except fucking Curtis Samuel. Right?
Except fucking Curtis Samuel.
So I actually like Brendan Allen in this spot, and here's why. If it's a pick'em, I would take Imavov. I think he's the more well-rounded guy, and I agree with everything you just said. But I think this fight is a lot closer to a pick'em than it is as Imavov as a 2-1 favorite here. So I got to take Brendan Allen on the money line. 3 rounds too is what makes me like it even more. I think he can get his back for a round and steal a round there. Like if he had to, if Imavov can defend the submissions, which we believe that he can, then I think the 5-round really favors him, right? Because Brendan Allen can steal early rounds with some grappling, but then look what Imavov did to Cannonier late, so he could just find his chin at some point throughout the fight. But I think Brendan Allen can win 2-1 here, a 29-28. I don't know that he can. He's got a nasty rear naked choke, but I don't know if he's going to be able to submit Imavov. But I'm just really playing the number on this fight. I just think it's way closer to a 50-50 fight here, so I have to take the dog money.
Okay. I know a lot of people who are sharp and heavy on Brendan Allen. He's just a guy that I never have been. So, I've got some personal biases on that one, man, and I'm going to see those through. We'll see what I end up doing. I think there's a lot of legs on this card. It's another very chalky card. So I think we're going to have to find opportunities to kind of mix and match and parlay and things like that. So I will find my way to Imavov in some way, shape, or form. Not sure exactly how I'm going to get there, but I will find a way to get there. All right, guys. Main event time. The whole reason we asked Maddie to come on the show, Renato Moicano, Money Moicano himself, headlines against my guy, Benoit Saint-Denis. And it's funny, man, we got a whole bunch of shit just a couple weeks ago for picking our boy Gilbert Burns in that last fight. And I had to remind everybody, I'm like, okay, these are our guys, right? This is home fight. They're part of us. They're our boys. I picked Jack Della Maddalena over Gilbert Burns. I've been a fan of Gilbert Burns, and I've been betting on that guy for years now, and I picked Jack Della over Gilbert. Okay, so it wasn't like a heart pick. It wasn't like a just because I have to. Like, we actually believed Burns was going to win that fight. So don't worry, you guys. You're not getting unbiased opinions here in these types of spots. Now, when it comes to a bet, you may not see people putting their money against our boys, but you'll at least get the straight fire truth here from us when we think someone's going to win a fight. Benoit Saint-Denis, as you guys know, I've been beating the drum. That's been my guy for years. I thought that Benoit Saint-Denis was going to be the next big thing in this weight class, and I still kind of do. He's 28 years old. And the UFC essentially had an agreement in place that if he had beaten Dustin Poirier, he was going to challenge for the UFC lightweight title at the end of last year. I had a 30-1, or I guess have a 30-1 Benoit Saint-Denis to be champion at the end of 2024 ticket in my pocket. 30-1. And the UFC had an agreement on the table. All my boy had to do was win one damn fight, and he ran into the wood chipper that is Dustin Poirier. Now, he did have staff going into that fight, and the way he just kind of cardio dumped and melted, you got to wonder, bright lights, big name like Dustin Poirier for the first time. Was it the staff? We're not entirely sure. It could be a mixture of any one of those things. But Benoit Saint-Denis is one of these freak show type of fighters, Maddie. He's a lot like Dricus. He's not the most technical, but he hits harder than you. He's not the most technical striker. He leaves holes in his defense, but he's willing to bet that he'll just punch you in the face harder than you're going to punch him in the face. The guy can win. He's got knockout power. He can grapple. He's got submissions. He's got ground and pound. Like, there's a lot to like about what Benoit Saint-Denis does. Now, Dustin Poirier, I think, was just a bit of a veteran check, right? The boxing on that guy, the hand speed, the technique, that was something Benoit had never seen or faced before. And I think he just wasn't quite ready for that level just yet. So now he's getting matched up with Money Moicano. And this is kind of a litmus test, I want to say, because Moicano, 35 years old, he's on kind of the back half of his career, but he's really pushing and making a run here at the title. And he's doing so very impressively. 4-fight winning streak, one of the only men, if not actually, I think maybe the only man so far to finish Jalen Turner in the UFC at this point. I mean, Moicano, what's not to like? This guy has heart for days. I thought Jalen Turner had him dead to rights. I'll be honest with you, Maddie. I thought it was done. It was over. He grappled his way back into that fight. His cardio checks out. His chin checks out. His heart checks out. He's got all the boxes checked. Back-to-back wins over Drew Dober and Jalen Turner. He's not here by accident. So this is a tough fight, man. And especially for me, with us coming from home of fight, that's our boy. I got to kind of stand on my principles here and say, at the end of the day, I think Benoit Saint-Denis is the future of this division, but I will not be shocked if Moicano is the livest dog on the board this weekend, because that's all he's been. And for the last couple of years, when people count out Moicano, he just proves them wrong. So I personally think I got to pick Benoit Saint-Denis to win this fight, just because every statement I've made for the last 2 years is that this guy's going to have gold wrapped around his waist in a very short amount of time. I still think that's true, but Moicano sure as hell is a test, man. I think this is going to be a battle on Saturday. Definitely want to hear your perspective on this one. I know you chat with Moicano, and you're going to have a little bit of inside scoop compared to what I've got to offer here, so let me have it, man. And by the way, you're welcome to tell him I picked against him. He can rant and rave at me and call me an asshole. And
Moicano is as legit as it gets when it comes to that stuff. Like, he picks against his teammates. He don't care if anyone picks against him. His number one philosophy is people should tell the truth, which I love that about him. He would honestly, if I thought he was going to lose, he would want me to tell him that. He would rather me be honest than bullshit him. For sure. Here's the thing. I understand the threat of BSD. But it's going to be an early threat. Moicano, there's a chance that BSD, with the crowd behind him, can come in and get Moicano out of there early. But I will say one thing, Moicano's BJJ is so slick. And in a way, I think, like, bias aside, I actually think Moicano is a tough matchup for Benoit, because Benoit is so aggressive that I just see it. I just see it in my soul. I can just see that Moicano's going to be so slick and find his back and kind of use BSD's aggression against him. I feel like Moicano and Brendan Allen both, their rear naked chokes are insane. And I just feel like that if Moicano can survive early on and weather the storm, if you even watch some of BSD's fights, what was the recent fight? In round 1, someone had his leg. Which fight was that? No, it wasn't Frevola, was it?
Was it the Moises fight?
2 or 3. I forget which fight it was. But long story short, I just see these openings like again. There's a chance.
He leaves them.
He leaves openings, right? And like Moicano is just so. What's the right word for it? He's so.
He's sticky.
Yeah, like he just he just finds these ways to get good positions, and
he's all heart, man. He really is.
And like if let's say for example, even BSD is laying ground and pound on him, right? Which is I think the most dangerous scenario for Moicano here. Because even if BSD gets a knockdown and Moicano's on his back, BSD's going to go for that ground and pound. I don't think he's going to try to submit Moicano, right? So he's going to try to get him out of there with the ground and pound. Moicano can just kind of find his way into these positions and in these spots, and I just think the sub is live for him. It always is live for him. The TKO for Jalen Turner was crazy, right? But Moicano even says like it's up to his opponent to pick in those spots. Like, do you want to get TKO'd or do you want to give your back up? And he just takes whatever he can. I don't see him TKOing, BSD, but I do see a world where he just finds a way to get his back or in some sort of position where he can get, a submission. And obviously I'm rooting for him and he's my guy. And I hope that happens, but I also understand, the challenge he's up against. There's a reason he's an underdog in France against this type of opponent. But he cashes as an underdog a hell of a lot. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, man. And I would think, like you mentioned, it's going to be early versus late, right? I am not sure that Benoit Saint-Denis is going
just got a
minutes.
TKO, so that's literally what I said. Tell Ethan in the chat.
Yeah,
I don't know what he's talking about.
So Ethan, my boy, is he comes in here and he challenges me to drinking bets every single week, and he just owns my soul, Maddie. Like every time he comes in here and swoops in on the other side, we do a shot bet, and this time he was thinking I would be on the Moicano side. We agree though. I'm on the BSD side, Ethan. So you're not getting me this week, my buddy. But it's good fun, man. I have to do a shot every once in a while, every other week or so, because he whoops my ass on a pick that I'm a little iffy on. But he's not going to get me this week. No, man, it's a spot where I can completely understand. If Benoit Saint-Denis comes out the way we've only ever seen him come out, and that's guns blazing, foot on the gas pedal, we will see if Renato Moicano can weather that storm.
Yeah.
And then what this looks like in rounds 2 and rounds 3.
I want to see I want to see Moicano go on the offense with the wrestling. We saw Matt Frevola.
That'd be interesting.
Matt Frevola took Benoit right down. Moicano's wrestling super underrated. We know about his jiu-jitsu, but his takedown accuracy isn't the best, but like he finds ways to get takedowns, right? Like whether he gets trips, whether he gets double legs, like he finds a way to get takedowns. I could see him going on the offense there and getting a takedown. And, anything can happen. All I'm saying is anything can happen in these scrambles. And I prefer Moicano's BJJ when it comes to those scrambles.
I could see it, man. Rashid 007 in the chat saying live bet Moicano. And that's maybe the best way to look at this one, man. It really might have, because if he survives that early onslaught, he's not going anywhere. And you'll get a bigger number going into round 2 if he can get out of round 1. So maybe a good way to approach this fight is taking a look at the live betting market.
I just want to see Moicano get on the microphone if he wins, bro. I can't wait for that.
Dude, there's nobody right now who cuts a promo like Moicano does. I mean, the UFC is missing McGregor so bad, but Moicano's the freaking dude.
Hey, I would argue Moicano's better at the post-fight speeches. McGregor's better talker in general, like at a podium or a press conference or wherever, but there's no one better post-fight, in my opinion. That's maybe I'm biased, but it's pretty entertaining. We did a whole montage on the Home of Fight Instagram. It was like 7 or 8 different post-fight speeches that were just hilarious.
He's so funny. He is so damn funny. All right, guys, that is UFC Paris. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us and taking a look at this fight card here. This is the Home of Fight, like we talked about. Make sure you check out those links in the description. I will update the links in there so you can get the picks from the boys in the Home of Fight Discord. You need high jive picks, and you've got Nolan Parlay. We got to get you guys in there on these guys, especially for Dana White's Contender Series, where they just absolutely crush. Maddie, my man, thank you for joining me to talk fights. It's always a good time. If you've got anything else coming up let the people know what other shows you got going on. I know you're taking off to Paris, but there's got to be something, right?
Yeah, we're not doing a Show Me the Money pod this week. I'm leaving for Paris, but if you guys check out the Show Me the Money podcast, YouTube, Apple, and Spotify, you can hear our interview. We talk with Moicano and Gilbert, talk about the fight card. We built a 3-leg parlay. We talk about Moicano's matchup, Brendan Allen's matchup. That's all on the Show Me the Money YouTube. And then I can't emphasize enough, go use Clint's link, 7-day free trial with code Maddie. I'm telling you guys, Hayden, Hey Jive picks, and Nolan the parlay. Those picks texted right to your phone. We got Contender Series tomorrow night. At the bare minimum, go subscribe for that Contender Series card. You guys can cancel it at any time, pay $0. But go subscribe for that Contender Series card, text it to your phone tomorrow night. He's won, I think, 6 out of his last 7 Contender Series cards, so he's very, very good at it.
Pretty crazy. All right, guys. And of course, we'll be back on Thursday for the Total Takedown, Friday for the Undefeated Post Weigh-In show, where we break out that tinfoil cap. And we are going to dominate the end of the year. We've got 3 more months of MMA action for me to go ahead and get positive, and we're going to get there. We are going to get there. Thank you guys again for the love and support, and we'll see you next time. Let's freaking roll.